The Ethiopian calendar is the main calendar used in Ethiopia. It serves as the liturgical calendar for Christians in Eritrea and Ethiopia belonging to the Orthodox Tewahedo Churches, Eastern Catholic Church and Coptic Orthodox Church. It is a solar calendar which comes from the Egyptian calendar. But like the Julian calendar, it adds a leap day every 4 years. It begins the year on August 29th or August 30th in the Julian calendar. A 7 to 8 year gap between the Ethiopian and Gregorian calendars results from an alternate calculation in determining the date of the Annunciation of Jesus. Like the Coptic calendar, the Ethiopic calendar has 12 months of 30 days plus 5 or 6 epigomenal days, which make up a 13th month. The Ethiopian months begin on the same days as those of the Coptic calendar. The names of the days are in Ge'ez. The 6th epigomenal day is added every 4 years without exception on August 29th of the Julian calendar. This occurs 6 months before the Julian leap day. Thus the first day of the Ethiopian year, 1 Mascaram, 4 years between 1900 and 2099, inclusive, is usually September 11th, Gregorian. It, however, falls on September 12th in years before the Gregorian leap year. The Ethiopian New Year falls on September 11th of the Gregorian calendar. On leap years it falls on September 12th. In 1582 the Christian world changed from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. Ethiopia did not make the change. As a result, Ethiopia is 7 years and 8 months behind those countries that use the Gregorian calendar. Christmas and Easter fall on different dates than they would elsewhere. The Ethiopian calendar is a solar calendar that has much in common with the Coptic calendar of the Coptic Orthodox Church of Alexandria and Coptic Catholic Church, but like the Julian calendar, it adds a leap day every 4 years without exception, and begins the year on 11th or 12th of September in the Gregorian calendar, from 1900 to 2099. Its epoch, first day of first year, equates to August 29th 8 AD. The neighboring Coptic calendar is very similar to the Ethiopian calendar, except that it has a different epoch, August 29th, 284 AD, and different names for the days of the week and months of the year. The Ethiopian calendar has 12 months, all 30 days long, and 5 or 6 epigomenal days, which form a 13th month. The Ethiopian months begin on the same days as those of the Coptic calendar, but their names are in Ge'ez. A 6th epigomenal day is added every 4 years, without exception, on August 29th of the Julian calendar, 6 months before the corresponding Julian leap day. Thus, the first day of the Ethiopian calendar year, 1 Mascaram, 4 years between 1900 and 2099, inclusive, is usually September 11th, Gregorian. It falls on September 12th in years before the Gregorian leap year, however. The Ethiopian New Year is called Kudus Yohannes in Ge'ez and Tigrinya, while in Amharic, the official language of Ethiopia, it is called Enkudattash, meaning gift of jewels. It occurs on September 11th in the Gregorian calendar, except for the year preceding a leap year, when it occurs on September 12th. The Ethiopian calendar year 1998 Amida Mhra with Diaresis T, Year of Mercy, began on Gregorian calendar September 11, 2005. The Ethiopian calendar years 1992 and 1996, however, began on the Gregorian dates of September 12 in 1999 and 2003 respectively. This date correspondence applies for Gregorian years 1900 to 2099. The Ethiopian calendar leap year is every 4 without exception, while Gregorian centurial years are only leap years when exactly divisible by 400, thus, a set of corresponding dates will most often apply for a single century. As the Gregorian year 2000 is a leap year, the current correspondence lasts 2 centuries instead. The start of the year, the Feast of El Nayrouz, falls on 29 or August 30th, on the year just before the Julian leap year. This date corresponds to the old-style Julian calendar. The start of the year has been transferred forward in the currently used Gregorian calendar to 11 or September 12th, on the year just before the Gregorian leap year. This deviation between the Julian and the Gregorian calendar will increase with the passing of the time. The Ethiopian calendar stands apart from the Gregorian calendar used globally. With 13 months instead of 12, it includes 12 months of 30 days each plus a short 5 or 6 day month, Pagium, at the end. Additionally, Ethiopia follows a 7 to 8 year difference from the Gregorian calendar due to alternate calculations of the annunciation. This ancient system, rooted in Coptic Christian traditions, preserves Ethiopia's rich cultural identity and remains in daily use for religious events, festivals, and agricultural cycles. To indicate the year, followers of the Ethiopian and Eritrean churches today use the Incarnation era, which dates from the Annunciation of the Incarnation of Jesus on March 25 AD 9, Julian, as calculated by Annianus of Alexandria c. 400, thus, its first civil year began 7 months earlier on August 29 AD 8. Meanwhile, Europeans eventually adopted the calculations made by Dionysius Exiguus in AD 525 instead, which placed the Annunciation 9 years earlier, Anno Domini #New Year, than had Annianus. This causes the Ethiopian year number to be 8 years less than the Gregorian year number from January 1 until 10 or September 11, then 7 years less for the remainder of the Gregorian year. In the past, a number of other eras for numbering years were also widely used in Ethiopia, Eritrea, and the Kingdom of Aksum. The most important era, once widely used by Eastern Christianity, and still used by the Coptic Orthodox Church of Egypt, was the era of martyrs, also known as the Diocletian era, or the era of Diocletian and the martyrs, whose first year began on October 29, 328. Respective to the Gregorian and Julian New Year's days, 3½ to 4 months later, the difference between the era of martyrs and the Anno Domini is 285 years, 285 equals 15 times 19. This is because in AD 525, Dionysius Exiguus decided to add 15 metonic cycles to the existing 13 metonic cycles of the Diocletian era. 15 times 19 plus 13 times 19 equals 532, to obtain an entire 532-year medieval Easter cycle, whose first cycle ended with the year era of martyrs 247, equals 13 times 20, equal to year Tsi. It is also because 532 is the product of the metonic cycle of 20 years and the solar cycle of 28 years. It has 13 months in a year. Around AD 400, an Alexandrian monk called Panodoros fixed the Alexandrian era, Anno Mundi equals in the year of the world, and the date of creation, on August 29, 5493 BC. After the 6th century AD, the era was used by Egyptian, Ethiopian, and Eritrean chronologists. The 12th 532-year cycle of this era began on August 29 AD 360, and so 4 times 19 years after the era of martyrs. Bishop Onianos preferred the Annunciation as New Year's Day, March 25. Thus he shifted the Panodoros era by about 6 months, to begin on March 25, 5492 BC. In the Ethiopian calendar this was equivalent to 15 Megabit 5501 BC. EC. The Anno Mundi era remained in usage until the late 19th century. The 4-year leap year cycle is associated with the 4 evangelists. The first year after an Ethiopian leap year is named the John year, followed by the Matthew year, and then the Mark year. The year with the 6th epagomenal day is traditionally designated as the Luke year. The leap year has 7 days every 700 years as opposed to 6 days every 4 years for the 13th month Pagumen. The Pagumen month has 5 days during the non-leap years. Ethiopia is located in East Africa and is Africa's second largest country in terms of population. It uses a unique calendar system different from the widely used Gregorian calendar. The Ethiopian calendar, also called GEEZ, is 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar. The main reason for this difference is that the Ethiopian calendar places Jesus' birth in 7 BC, before Christ, and begins its count from that point. On the flip side, the Gregorian calendar marks Jesus' birth as 1 AD and initiates its date count from that time. In the era before Christ, BC, days were counted backward, and eras were labeled based on the notion of when Jesus was born. BC means before Christ, and AD stands for Anno Domini, or in the year of the Lord. In non-Christian countries, AD is replaced with CE, Common Era, and BC to BCE, before the Common Era. There are 8 years of difference between 7 BC, when the Ethiopians believed Jesus was born, and 1 AD, which followed the Gregorian calendar. From 7 BC, the year is counted to 6 BC, 5 BC, 4 BC, 3 BC, 2 BC, 1 BC, and 1 AD. This, and other astronomical calculations, explain the years apart in both calendars. Evolution of calendar systems in history. A calendar system is a way people measure the passage of time. Ancient humans deployed different ways to determine the length of the year and track seasons to organize agricultural activities, plan religious ceremonies, and coordinate cultural events. Throughout history, calendars have been shaped by a combination of cultural practices, religious beliefs, and astronomical observations. The evolution of the calendar starts with the Mayan long calendar, the Roman calendar, the Julian calendar, and the Gregorian calendar, among others. The Julian calendar is based on the solar system. It calculates time and dates based on the Earth's orbit around the Sun. It was used for about 1,600 years but was criticized for not accurately reflecting the time it takes the Earth to revolve around the Sun. The Julian calendar sets a year at 365.25 days, and since no year matches the extra 0.25, a year is rounded up to 365 days and 366 days in a leap year every 4 years to align the calendar with the solar year more closely. It was later discovered that the time of the year, according to the Julian calendar, was off by 11 minutes, which led to Pope Gregory XIII's calendar reform in 1582. The new calendar was named after Gregory, who made it the Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar adapted the Julian calendar with few updated features. Other unique calendars today include the Chinese calendar, Hebrew calendar, Hijra calendar, and Hijri solar calendar, among others. These calendars are used solely as the primary calendar systems in countries that adopt them. Some use these native calendars alongside the Gregorian calendar for both religious and civil purposes. One obvious fact in these trends is that calendars in different cultures evolved from different timekeeping systems. This is the case with the Ethiopian calendar. Some unique features of the Ethiopian calendar. The Ethiopian calendar is based on the same astronomical calculations as the Gregorian calendar, albeit with some differences in the calculation method and starting point. A full year in Ethiopia comprises 13 months. The first 12 months have 30 days each, the 13th month has 5 days, and in a leap year, it has 6 days. While the Gregorian calendar celebrates the New Year on January 1st and Christmas on December 25th, Ethiopia's New Year starts on September 11th or Mescharam 1, while Christmas is celebrated on January 7th. Unraveling some myths around the Ethiopian calendar. Dubawa engaged an Ethiopian, Ms. Hannah, in a dialogue session to demystify some myths about the Ethiopian calendar. One of the myths around the Ethiopian calendar is that one becomes 8 years younger when one travels to Ethiopia. Traveling to Ethiopia wouldn't make someone physically younger by 8 years. The difference in calendars doesn't affect one's age or the passage of time in a biological sense. It's merely a difference in how years are calculated and recorded, Ms. Hannah noted. Historical records on the evolution of calendar systems and the Ethiopian calendar indicate that the Ethiopian calendar is 7 to 8 years behind the Gregorian calendar. Currently, Ethiopia is in 2018. Thank you for watching this video.